United States of America, President Barack Obama.
Good to see you. I just want to say everybody back home, right back at you. We appreciate you. You always give us straight talk.
And welcome to Straight Talk. And we're constantly thanking our president for the endorsement. And don't say ex-president, he will always be our president. Today we have to join us is a good friend, Dennis Muhammad.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Dennis. Tell us what you're the executive director of
Do for Self Community Development Corporation.
Do for Self Community Development.
Yes.
That's a strong sentence. Do for self.
Yes, sir.
You know how long I've been trying to get us to do for self? You remember Straight Talk Economic Roundtable?
Yes, sir.
Back in the 90s.
That's right.
We had 400 black businesses.
That's right. Yeah.
If we had been doing for self, it would be quadruple now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you one of the legends and one of the pioneers for the spirit of do for self, and that's something that we have lost as a community: the spirit to do for self.
Well, what do you think is going on right now? What can we do to? What can we do now that Straight Talk didn't do that could really make this work?
Well, I don't think we could put it all on Straight Talk. We have to put it on all of us who share the same sentiments.
Right.
And as I was sharing with you prior to coming live, that we bought the old Seaway Bank building and we calling it the Do for Self Networking Center. And we had all kind of movements as a people. But the movement that we need to have now is an economic development movement. We need to inspire enterprise. We need to inspire the spirit to do for self. Malcolm said, people that don't control the economics in their community won't control the politics in our community. And that's what's wrong with the African American community. We don't control our economics.
Well, Chicago is Illinois is a strange state when it comes to politicians and the public. How can we get our public to understand that they're not servants of the politicians are servants of them?
Well, we have to become inspired to take control of our own destiny. And we can't rely on handouts. We have to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. Handouts only weaken us. So we need to grow a backbone and stop complaining about what we don't have and start working with the strength of what we got.
Well, why I started the Straight Talk Economic Roundtable, I had a union complaint from the U.S. Department of Health, Department of Employment. Not employment, what am I talking about? Labor, Department of Labor. Labor Department, U.S. Labor Department. A complaint, I can't remember what that complaint was about, and sitting down and talking with them, we had a conversation. They told me that their records show that blacks are making and spending $50 billion a year in Chicago. And he said, do you know, we talked about unemployment. He said, do you know that every $1 billion creates 50,000 full employment jobs? So there's no reason for you people to be unemployed. And it just struck me like a fist in the nose. I said, wow, he's absolutely right. So
it's ironic. I met with the president of the Carpenters Union just a few days ago, and I had a relationship with his father in the 90s. And what they would allow us to do was bring our own people into the unions, and whether we can work throughout the city, because most of the major construction that's taking place in the city is basically union contractors. And we just struck a deal with them to redo that all over again, where they would allow us to do job site agreements to go out and bring people into the trades so that we can participate on some of these union jobs. And, you know, that's where a great deal of the resources are right now, is in the construction industry.
Right. But what they were saying then was they understood that we weren't shopping in our own communities, so therefore we were creating jobs and economics for other communities without $50 billion. That's what they were saying. That's why the roundtable came together to pull the businesses together and teach them how to ingratiate themselves to the public and make them start shopping with them. As I went to a guy who was wiping down shelves in a store, wiping off cans, and the building right next door to him, I was looking for a guy there. And there were no names on the mailboxes or the bills. I said, wow, how did someone get any mail or anything here? So I went next door and I asked the guy, showed him a picture. I said, one of my colleagues lived next door. I got to speak with him, but there's no name up on the box. Maybe you can tell me what apartment he lives in. Well, you know, I know he's shopping next door, you know. So he looked down his nose. I don't know about these little old folks around here. I'm a businessman. I said, wow. I said, no wonder this store's empty. And he's wiping down shelves and boxes of dirty cans, you know, because nobody's shopping in there. So, you know, that was the reason for, that was one of the reasons for creating that roundtable with businesses to teach them how to ingratiate themselves to the public. Don't try and look down your nose at them. You know, if you do the right thing as a business person, the people will right away understand that you are the leader in the community. Businesses are the leaders in the community.
Right. That's right.
Why are they leaders in the community? Because they create jobs. You know, they create jobs, and that's their function, create jobs. But what about the alderman? The alderman's the leader. No, the alderman is your employee. You created a job for him. You're paying him a salary to go to City Hall every day and represent you and represent your interests. If he doesn't do that, you have a right to tell him to get out of office, according to the Constitution. You have a right to tell him to leave the office. We don't want you anymore. Had to be more than one person telling him, no. But you have it right. So, but how can you get that? How can we get that across to our people?
Well, we got to reach out to the millennials. We got to deal with a new generation of people that haven't been jaded, that still dream, that still believe. You have people that been out here so long, their wheels have been broken. So you know you can't build with broken wheels. You have to go where people still have the desire to live and have ambition. And that's the generation that's being overlooked. Many of our young people that's tied to what is considered street life, they got a lot of brilliant young people out there, but there's no venue, there's no window of opportunity to be able to bring them into business.
Well, you know, some similars. Yes, I see some similars of excellence from the millennial.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they came about in the 80s. So I think about 80s and 85 to 95 is millennial. Those people are running businesses and they're doing a pretty good little job. Now, it's not a lot of them, but it's you know, it's a good start. And I think if the next generation will follow them, then we will have something going. But right now, the only ones I see are just those few that are doing pretty good business.
Yeah, but it's going to take more than that.
Yes.
I mean, we have big leaders in this city, so you know they need to do more advocacy towards economic development.
Like who? Leaders?
You got big religious leaders in this community. You have that have big followings, that have mega churches, but because of the Willie Lynch spell, we can't work together. Some Christian leaders won't work with Muslims because we don't identify God in the same language, even though we worship the same
God, right.
So we have to get away from that that whole Willie Lynch spell that have been put over our people. And really, I think we can all agree with do for self. You know, I think that's the banner that we should pick up. And those leaders that have large followings, you know, they should take the lead.
Well, how can we get involved with your organization?
Well, it's a couple of things that could be done. One is we have a 501c3, which we are moving towards the development end of it, opposed to not just going out looking for jobs, but creating jobs. Then we have a construction arm that have a union relationship, so the people that we employ and train, we have opportunity for them. But more importantly, we have a program called BET, Business Development, Employment, and Training. So the whole idea is to bring people from unskilled, skilled to business ownership. So it's a grind. So basically, this is helping right here, giving us exposure, creating goodwill, making contributions to in kind or in some form of monetary way, you know, building relationships.
Well, since we got onto that, how do we get in touch with you?
You can reach me at 773-356-7661. You can go to my website, which is www.doforself.org. Yeah.
www.doforself.org. doforself.org. O-R-G. Now, you know, it's when you got people who are attempting to pull the community together, there's no excuse for us not to join with them and make this thing work, because as long as we are scattered and trying to ingratiate ourselves into someone, intrude in someone else's life, someone else's livelihood, someone else's culture, you're going to always be behind the 8 ball. We got a culture that's strong and the majority. This culture is the majority. It's majority in this country. Don't let anybody tell you any differently. Oh no, that's a lie, whatever you say. Right now, people are trying to tell Chicago, and in fact, they're telling Chicago. I've heard blacks on black radio stations saying, well, you know, we lost all these populations. It's only about 25% of us in the city now. 25% of the city are black. Are you crazy? They say things like, well, you know, 80,000 people was displaced from the projects and sent out to the south suburbs. I said, okay. If you believe there was only 80,000 people in the projects, in the housing, Chicago housing, you're crazy. That's first. If you believe there was only 80,000 people in the projects, you're crazy. There may have been 80,000 registered with the government, but what about the cousins and nephews and all these people who came up from the south?
It was 100,000 registered and probably about 400,000 that resided.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And a great deal of them been placed in the community, and not necessarily in the south suburban areas, but they've been displaced in Chatham, South Shore,
and those squatters who were living with them are living with other relatives in the community now.
That's correct.
So they can't go to the south suburbs. They don't have any means of going to the south suburbs or any other suburbs. They're living in we got to get them to understand that it's okay for them to live with someone else. Now go and register and make yourself known in the city. Simple as that.
Well, I agree. You know, so how do we get the community to agree?
Well, we got to continue doing what you're doing. We got to continue doing what you're doing. Yeah, I know you have meetings. Tell us when is your meeting?
Well, I don't have the calendar in front of me, but we meet once a month, and what I would do is get that information over to you
Okay.
so that you can let it be known to those who might want to come about. I'd just like to share with you, there's different programs that the government has that are not affirmative action programs. They're economic stimulus programs called Section 3. And Section 3 been on the books since 1968. There's the leadership of CHA right now, a man by the name of Eugene Jones, which the public needs to know a lot about this guy. He have created over 200 small companies under the Section 3 regulation, which the vast majority of them are the African American community. It's not a race-based economic stimulus. You can be Hispanic poor, black poor, white poor, so nobody can sue and say you're being given favor. So this law been on the book since 1968, but it really never been used in Chicago until we brought it out in the 90s when I had the opportunity to use Muhammad Ali's name and image. But this man named Eugene Jones, he have took it to a whole nother level, and that regulation is relevant to all federal funds, not just to public housing. So we need to let people know more about it. We started an organization, we haven't done much with it, called the National Association of Section 3 Companies. And we plan to reach out to the mayor and to the governor and let them know that, hey, this is the way that you can create economic stimulus without being sued through any affirmative action or favoritism, because it's a federal mandate. And these are the type of things that our community is not aware of.
Another thing our community is not aware of is the fact that our politicians are not business people.
Yeah, well, our politicians mainly they come across as for self. You know,
Actually, in our community, they're not even for self.
yeah.
Well,
When
it ends up that way because they get a stipend to go downtown and vote against their interests, against the interests of their community.
I agree. You know, so that's why I said for self, meaning that for their own self-interest.
Right, right.
You know, they don't. They come across as not working for the interests of the total community.
Right.
When you have, imagine this, if all of our elected officials that we have now were white conservatives, they'd be protesting and marching saying no justice, no peace.
Right, right.
We worse off now than we were in the 60s, and the vast majority of our leaders are African Americans. What do you call that? What do we call that now that our representation is not white folks denying us opportunity, but black folks who are not providing opportunity?
Well, when you say leaders, black leaders, what
I'm talking about our political leaders.
That's what I'm saying. That's the problem. That's the problem right there. We call them political leaders. We call them leaders, and they believe it. And in fact, most of us believe that they're leaders. And this is how they, you know, like for instance, a good friend of mine was the alderman and ward committeeman of the 24th Ward. When the ward committeeman had power, and he had the power to get 40 or 50 employees out in the community employed with city, state, and county. So he had a good political force within this ward. And when Harold died, and the black people wanted Tim Evans. Black people wanted Tim Evans, and he voted for Sawyer. And Bill Henry, I don't know if you know Bill Henry, but he voted for Sawyer. And they called him and said, Mr. Alderman, we asked you to vote for Tim Evans, and you voted for Sawyer. He said, yes. Now, first they asked to meet with him and had him come down to the church, about 75, 80 people in the church. He walked in with his chest stuck out. And when they talked to him, you know, we asked you to vote for Tim Evans. He said, I'm the leader of this community. I do what I think is best for you. And we didn't think Tim Evans was the best. We thought Sawyer was the best. And while he was arguing, he said, okay, Mr. Boss, we're sorry, Mr. Boss. Okay, keep that in mind. I'm looking out for you. Walked out the door. 2 weeks later, the election for ward committeeman came up. They kicked him out as a ward committeeman. And I think 6 months later, the aldermanic race came up. They kicked him out as the alderman. So now who's the boss?
Yeah.
And my good friend, he's about Robert Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
He was in this ward, in the 9th ward. And he voted for Tim Evans. They kicked him out. Bob Shaw said, I will never be out-blacked again. And he's been off that, he'd been keeping up with that. He never was out-blacked. He got a job, well, he won a position as the, what do they call it? I know he was the chairman of the board, chairman of the board of tax appeals. My taxes on my building, I had a building on 83rd, on 103rd in May. That's where our studio was there. And I owned the building there at the time. And it was 10 lots, 10 city lots. And he was charging for each lot, it's maybe been about, I think it was about $80,000 a year, taxes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a bank building,
Mm-hmm.
old bank building. And Bob said, man, this is ridiculous. He cut it down to something like $12,000 a year. And everything was great. And he did that for so many businesses that the Tribune called him and said, you're cutting all these taxes, come cut our taxes on our building over here. Bill said, I'm not playing games, sir. He said, I'm trying to help the people who need help. You don't need help. You don't, just don't talk about that. And the Tribune wrote about it. You know, he's playing favorite, and he's all kind of stuff. But anyway, he didn't pay it any attention. He stuck with his word. He, but by and by, after about 2 terms, I think he served 2 terms over there, the party come together and kicked him out. How did they kick him out? The party kicked him out. How did the party kick him out? They used black people. Because you know, he was running countywide, so we were the majority of the county. So if we had voted for him, he would have still been in. But they kicked him out. That's because we don't know any better.
I don't think that we don't know any better, we don't do any better. I think we know better, we just don't do better. We don't have the will to do better. That's why we don't have the will to do for self.
Right.
Yeah, if you talk to anybody, they got the answer, but they don't have the will to back it up. They don't have the I call it the rubber meet the road. You know, they're not willing to put the time in to whatever it takes to make it happen. And really, you know, I think the Democratic Party have harmed the black community more so than helped it by making us a people of entitlement.
Ooh.
And we have lost our backbone. We became a people like with a jellyfish backbone. We don't have the desire and the will to go out here and do it ourselves. So subsidies and freebies have really undermined our growth. If you go back to Black Wall Streets and how the dollar circulated 5 years before it left the community.
That's what made them so big.
And then when they came and burnt that community down, there was no longer a desire in black people to establish themselves that way anymore. And
There were so
That's
many,
what
so
we
many
are.
of them died as a result of that too.
yeah, I agree. So we have we don't have the faith in ourselves. I ask people, how can you say you believe in God and you don't believe in yourself if God created you, and if the Spirit of God lives in you? So we can't blame white folks anymore. We had to do a community assessment and start looking at ourselves in the mirror and see what is it that we're not doing to change the condition of our community.
And if you really look at it very closely, it's way more whites who are working with you and for you than they are against you.
I agree.
You see, but we don't see that. We don't see that. We say all white folks are this and white folks are that. No. Did you see how many white people marched with Martin Luther King? Did you see the first people killed in Mississippi for trying to get blacks registered with 2 whites and 1 black? So, you can't say white folks don't like black people.
Well, at the end of the day, black people don't like black people.
That's the problem.
And the problem
Don't like
that
themselves.
I have with black movements, even with Black Lives Matter, if a white cop or somebody white kill a black person, they out protesting. Why they not out protesting when black folks is killing babies?
Right.
That same outrage should be there when black folks kill people,
Okay,
when
you're
white
absolutely
folks
right.
kill people.
Absolutely
So do
right.
Black Lives Matter only when white folks kill you?
Right. See, that's
So it
ridiculous.
really go back to, God says in the Quran that never do he change the condition of a people until they change what's in their soul, what's in their heart. So we have to learn to love ourselves, to like ourselves, to appreciate ourselves, to value ourselves. And you can't do that if you don't do for self.
Absolutely. You see, what you're saying is very germane. It's we. I don't even like to say it. I don't even like to use that term. We have an affinity against one another. Why? I bet the person who does it don't know why. Just know it's there. I set my camera up in front of an area where there were 2 stores. It was a perfect area. Black store, about 4 or 5 doors down, Arab store. Okay. Mostly working in the Arab store was a bunch of relatives. In the black store was a couple of blacks because they didn't have any business, real business, so they didn't have a lot of workers. So I taped for a week. Every day, blacks walk right by that black store and go down to the Arab store. But they come out with small packages, so I didn't bother with them. Finally, this one guy went in and he come out with 2 big shopping bags. And I called him over. He said, "Oh, W.L. Little, I'm going on TV?" I said, "Yeah, come on, let's talk." So I put him in front of the camera and I asked him, I said, "Did you enjoy your shopping spree?" "Oh, yes, I always do." He said, "I saw you pass the store up down the street there and go to this store." I said, why'd you do that?" "Man, that so-and-so ain't about nothing." I said, "He has the same product this guy has." I said, "I watched trucks come by, stop here and drop a load off, and they pull down to the other store and drop a load off. So they use the same store, and they probably got the same prices." I said, "I've never gone into either one, but I'm sure they got the same prices." "Man, I don't care about all that. He doesn't mean anything. He doesn't even live in the community." I said, "Well, this guy down here doesn't live in the community. I don't care about him. I don't care about him. I don't want my own people doing it to me." I said, "What is he doing to you?" Not living in the community is doing it to him. But it's okay for this guy that's not living in the community. He'll shop with him. See, what kind of mentality is that?
So what do you think we can do to inspire do for self in the community?
Well, let me tell you, from 1992, I think we started Roundtable, Straight Talk Economic Roundtable, up until 08. The organization operated, could not break the mold. In fact, got to a point I said, okay, my last effort would be now to unite the aldermen with them. But I think, the aldermen, they can't have precinct captains that's, openly on the job. We know they're gonna keep precinct captains like Carrie still had all of her sons on the payroll. But I said, okay. I called all the black aldermen together, and I told them what I had in mind. In fact, Strozier was even there. He was war committeeman. Oh man, they thought that was a heck of an idea. I said, okay, I'm going to call a joint meeting of the businesses and you guys, and we'll, put it on the table and make it work. Man, that's a great idea. I was going to have I said, the business people we'll have our employees canvass the precinct in the various precincts in the wards. We will have a chairman from the Straight Talk Economic Roundtable of each ward, a chairman of that ward, and he will direct his people, what to do. And I said, as the businesses grow, you're going to have to contribute back to a fund. And from this fund, you can get to, if you pick a person that's going to run for state representative, you want to give him campaign funds. You can come and get campaign funds for him to run for state rep. Oh man, they thought that was the greatest thing since ice cream. And called it. Then after meeting them and talking with the business people, and they all laughed. They thought it was, yeah, sound good, okay. When I brought them all together and spoke about it the same way, they had a couple of the politicians to speak, the aldermen, and told a couple of our members to speak on what they thought about it. Okay, the meeting was over. I asked the aldermen to leave so I could talk with the business people privately. They all left, shaking hands. They're all happy. Everybody's happy. Get outside. I said, okay, they're gone. I said, okay, guys, what do you think? You think it's a great idea? Man, you get out there canvassing for no alderman. I said, who said you were canvassing for the alderman? You remember, you got a letter from the alderman telling these people that if you shop in these businesses, we will guarantee you that unemployment will go down expeditiously. So you're canvassing for yourself. Because if they come by the first time, after the first go around, and they see all these people working, they say, wow, man, that does work. So the word's going to get out, and everybody's going to start shopping in the community. And unemployment will just disappear. I hear what you're saying, man, but I ain't getting out there canvassing for no alderman. I said, are you listening to me? You hear what I said, but you're not listening. You're talking about canvassing for an alderman. See, I told you, the alderman, you're telling the people you're canvassing for the alderman. But this letter is telling all people that you're canvassing for them, because it's telling you to shop with them by the alderman. You're using that power that these aldermen have placed in their head that they are. Yeah, okay? Since they think you're the leader, sign this letter saying that, if you're shopping these businesses. They all agreed. But I just could not get it across to these business people.
Well, I don't think we should focus on people that you got to force feed. You should look for people that is
already got
in the mold. And most of the time it's the people that's not known. And I would recommend that you reach out to Eugene Jones, the new CEO for Chicago Housing Authority, just to get a real perspective of what he'd been doing, and then
Eugene
asked
Jones.
him to share some other names with you, because there's people that's out here that's making things happen, but the public don't know who they are.
Okay. You got a number for Eugene?
Do I have a number for him?
Yeah.
I can get a number for you. I don't have it on me,
Okay.
but I got it at the office. So I make sure that I get you his office number, where it'll go to his secretary and get you an email for him where you can send him an email.
Great.
Yeah. So you have a lot of dynamic people in Chicago and outside of Chicago, and you have to reach out to them, or we can't continue to go through the status quo. You have generations of history of dealing with the status quo, and the outcome of it is the same.
Same
zero.
all the time. You're right.
You know, our communities is occupied by foreign interests. You know, I don't know of a black grocery store in the city of Chicago.
I don't know of any either.
You know, so, you know, something wrong with that picture. And we, you know, instead of complaining, we need to get to people who is about doing it, because we could complain about it all day, and we can pass and point fingers at each other all day. But there's people out here that want to make things happen. They just need a venue and a window of opportunity to do it.
Right. Oh, I do know of two on Halsted. One at 107th in Halsted, and one about 105th in Halsted, in that area. Been there for quite a while, black.
Yeah.
But I wasn't familiar with them. In fact, they weren't there when we were at the round table. But
Yeah.
they've been there for the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years or so. Because it's not just close by my house. But you're absolutely right. We got to start dealing with people who have some knowledge and wisdom of what's happening around them, and you know, not just see, like the guy said. Well, a good example is when Joe Caldwell was my vice chairman of the organization. You know, Taylor Wright Cleaners.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him that evening, and he said, "How'd the meeting go, man?" He was on the board at Seaway Bank, and he had a meeting at the same time, a board meeting at that date, so he couldn't be at the meeting. I said, "It went great, man." I said, "But the business people went stupid."
You know, another guy you should reach out to, his name is Otis Moreau, the Moreau Foundation. I think you know
him, yeah.
Otis.
Yeah.
Otis doing a lot of things with the banks, and a lot of folks don't know about what he's doing with the banks. And he's connecting a lot of small businesses with loans with these banks. He would be someone that can be a great advocate for helping small businesses being connected with financial institutions.
Okay.
You know,
You got a number on Monroe?
yeah, his number is 773-315-9720.
I know Otis. I give him a call. Yeah.
Yeah. You know Calvin Holmes with the Chicago Community Loan Fund?
Mm-mm.
Well, you should reach out to Calvin Holmes at the Chicago Community Loan Fund. They put a lot of money into the community. Banks like Citicorp and PNC makes large deposits with them to meet the Community Reinvestment Act requirements, and they put those loans out into the community. So a lot of folks don't know about them. You should get him on your show.
What's his?
I can get you. You had to, I don't know his number by
Okay.
heart, so you have to reach out to. I'm just giving you some names for you to reach out that are connected with making money available. Because part of the problem is the absence of having money.
Right.
And there's institutions out here that's making money. There's a bank called First Eagle Bank. It's a private-owned bank. They got an excellent credit bill program to help you get your credit back online. And it starts off with like just $2,500. And it's a 1-year loan, and at the end of that 1 year, you have $2,500 in your own account. And that's somebody that you might want to bring on your show. The person that run that particular program, his name is Farouk. I can't pronounce his last name, so I yeah,
FUROUCK.
Farouk, yeah. And you call me and I get you all of their numbers. I would be having those guys coming out doing workshops at the Do for Self Networking Center.
Okay.
So what we have to do is share information, direct people to resources, you know, help people get their credit in order so that they can become bankable, to be able to take advantage of these opportunities.
We need to get together. We need to stay together because first off, there's so many things we can do. If we got the same mindset, we had the same goals, we can make things work.
Yeah.
You know, like you said before, the status quo.
Yeah.
You know, actually, in the churches, there's a new church now on Dante, 81st and Dante. Avalon Park Community Church just reopened.
Mm-hmm.
Our friend Anthony Williams is the pastor.
Okay.
And he's a very progressive young man. Not a young man, well, he's not an old man either. But he listens. He knows how to listen. And he's got a lot of spunk. You know, he'll go and talk to the man to see, what's the name, the leader of the Democratic Party? The state leader?
Locally or nationally?
The leader, not the state.
I don't know who that
What's
is.
his name? Madigan.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
Madigan. He'll walk in and demand to see Madigan, and Madigan, he was so demanding that they had to let him see him, and Madigan fell in love with him. He would do whatever you tell him to do. So we know we need those kind of guys who have that kind of spunk, you know, to and you know, I want to introduce you to him. I'd
I'd love to meet him.
Yeah.
I'd love to meet him. He sounds like my kind of guy.
Yeah. And he's not hung up on religion. Hey, you know, we all have a different idea of how things should go, but we all should get together and make it all work. That's his feelings on it. Like, I'm a minister, but not a conventional minister. You know, I was ordained by the regular church, but they can't put that in my head. Like you just said before, they don't believe that God's Spirit is inside of them. No, God's in heaven. I say God's Spirit is in all people. That Spirit is that conscious that stops you from turning left when you're driving down the street, and that good sense kicks back in. The conscious tried to tell you to go left, but the good sense kicks back in and tells you, hey man, where you going? You're going 2 miles out of the way. You only got 3 blocks to go straight ahead. Do the math. Oh, so you turn back around, have an accident before you get to 3 blocks. If I follow my first mind. No. God attempted to lead you around that problem. You didn't listen.
Well, you know, God wants us to be industrialists. He said he breathed his spirit into dust and it became a living soul. So we came from dust to industrialists.
Right.
So to be industrialist, you have to do for self. If you don't do for self, then you're not industrialist. And you're not in the spirit of what God created. God created us to be workers, to be creators, to produce, you know. So that's the whole objective of life, is to make life better. Not to become a burden in life, but to remove the burden from life. And that's the whole objective of faith, is to create a better way.
I forgot he come out a few minutes ago and told me to do a commercial. we were still into it. So just hold on for 1 second. Let's do a commercial. See if you can hold on to that thought, okay?
All right.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Every now and then I get that feeling, and I've got something I want to say.
One of the great things about being a vegan is that the uniqueness of it.
And I've got to say it my way.
And so gathered with me today are just a sampling of those vegans who have become loyal supporters of Soul Vegetarian.
Welcome to Soul Vegetarian Restaurant.
Hi! Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably gonna turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right.
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him. Hi, I'm a warning sign. I let people know when they're... Oh, gotta go.
I'll be right back.
Hi!
Hart, what's going on?
I'm leaving.
Why? What did I do?
Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit.
Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just please, don't leave.
Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Why? Why? Why are you following me?
Why my hoodie make me look suspicious?
Why does my music make me dangerous?
Why are people that are supposed to protect me attacking me?
Why are you afraid of me? Why do you think I'm dangerous?
Why do I afraid of people who are supposed to protect me?
Why can't I make a peace sign without you labeling a gang sign?
Why does standing your ground only work when I'm on the ground?
Why do you show this photo over this one?
Why do you only stop and frisk me?
Why do you have low expectations for me?
Why can't I run down the street without causing alarms?
Why do you think I'm a thug?
Why do you assume I'm armed?
Why can I breathe? Why is my mom scared every time I leave the house?
Why are you targeting me?
Why am I a target?
Why?
Why? I know why.
And it has to stop.
It must stop.
Because I have dreams.
Because I can change the world.
Because I will make a difference.
Because I have a family.
Because I am strong.
Because I'm talented.
I have a voice.
I can find a cure.
I have goals.
I can lead the country.
I am determined.
I have a future.
Because I'm a scholar.
I am powerful.
I'm someone's friend.
I'm someone's brother.
I'm someone's son.
Someone loves me.
And because my life matters too.
My life matters.
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 Our lives matter.
And so did theirs.
Tropical World. Come to Golden's Tropical World for tropical fish of all sizes, colors, and types, and other small animals like iguanas and birds from all over the world. There are beautiful tanks, pet supply needs, including dog and cat foods, and expert consultation. Check out Golden's Tropical World, 8611 South Ashland Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Call ahead, 773-239-8809. Your pet shop.
No, I'm scared.
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Okay, we're back, and we're talking about the good and the bad of the African community in Chicago and the world. Actually, only the United States, because I can't say that about the whole world. Can you, Dennis?
No, I mean, but I've been blessed to travel, and I've been to Africa and other parts of the world, and we seem to be worse off everywhere we go. That I have been, we seem to be at the bottom tier. Black people, Africans, African Americans.
Why?
Well, different conditions in Africa is if they got a different struggle, but America, I think, is more of a mental dilemma, because this is the land of opportunity, and I believe that through entitlement programs that have taken away from becoming industrialists, so we became more reliant on what is given to us opposed to what we can make.
Well, you know, what I saw in most of the African countries that I've gone to was African people walking around with a tub or something, anything on their head with merchandise they were selling on the street.
Right.
For the merchants who were about the other cultures.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a whole different. They don't have the opportunities that we have. So it's not a fair comparison. We have fantastic opportunities.
Oh, sure.
We just don't take advantage of them.
Well, if those people can sell merchandise to the people in their communities, they could they could open a store and sell it to the same people.
I agree. But Chicago, let's talk about Chicago. I voted for Barack twice, and like many African Americans, we love him. But at the end of the day, when the banks was bailed out, there was no conditions put on the banks to make any money available to the community. So the financial institutions was part of the economic meltdown. They got bailed out by the taxpayers, and there was no obligations put on them to put any money back into the community to stimulate economic growth, and you need money to make money.
Right.
And there was no money made available for business development.
You're right. None made available whatsoever. But the thing is, we have the money. We have the money. When I was speaking of 50 billion a year, I was talking about in the 90s. It could be 75 billion a year now. So if the same conditions still exist, we're talking about, the reason I say it would be 75 billion now is because I can remember when I was a child, going to the gas station with my dad. My dad was big shot. He was making 50 cents an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Gas was only 4 cents a gallon. The car would hold about 10 gallons, so he would fill it up for 40 cents to fill the car up. He made more than that per hour. I would like to see you go any place now and buy gas, fill your car up, and for 1 hour pay.
Well, the cost of living have went up, but the cost of income haven't, for the African American community, haven't grown with the cost of living.
Well, that's all communities.
So you can't expect somebody to give that to you. You got to go out and create it. I mean, other immigrants come over here impoverished. Everybody want to come to America. They risk their lives to come to America. And they come over here and they become extremely successful. Right. That's because their will is not broken and they do for self. So at the end of the day, if we're not doing for self, who's going to do for you?
The same person that's not doing for you.
And who you going to blame for not doing for self?
We blame white people.
It's not their fault that we don't do for self.
I know that, but we do blame them.
But how can we be? We're not in chains no more.
You know, I had a guy sitting right where you're sitting now. Said, not just white folks per se. He said the government. He said they're not doing anything for the black community. Look at what they're doing to the south, the north side. I said, what are they doing to the north side? See all those big, beautiful buildings they're building out there, and they keep everything nice and neat. And look at our community.
But this go back to our political leaders. They don't have what is called.
Their leaders
I call them leaders because they're in the leadership position. They don't have community service agreements. Our aldermen allow developers and others to come into the community without community service agreements. The Hispanic aldermen make the developers and others sign community service agreements. So 40-50% of what they're doing has to go back into opportunities to their community. So our political leaders allow others to come into our community and don't enforce community service agreements.
Because you call them leaders.
Well, I mean,
you say political leaders.
We're dealing with semantics. They leaders in terms of being in a position to stop their zoning. They're in a position not to make sure they get permits.
They can't do that stuff no more.
Yes, they can.
See, that was all made up by other mayors. This mayor here stopped it.
Which mayor?
The mayor we got right now. She stopped that. She stopped all that.
But I mean, she just got here though.
When she got here, the first thing she did, she said, "I'm taking all that power, so-called power, away."
Yeah. But I mean, they didn't do nothing with it anyway. So it's not like they took anything away. How you gonna take something away and you ain't did nothing with it?
They didn't use it anyway.
If you got a gun and don't shoot it, then I take it away from you. What difference does it make? You ain't use it anyway.
Another example is I had a guy who wanted to open a business in a community. I knew the alderman, so he said the alderman told him he couldn't do it. I said, okay, I'll call him for you. So I called this alderman, and by the time he called me back, he said, oh, W.R., please don't ask me to do that. He said, this guy want to put stuff on the sidewalk. I don't want all that stuff sitting on the sidewalk and stuff. So he asked me anything else, don't ask me that. I said, okay. I hung up. And I called my man and told him, what? He said, man, he said, I went downtown to get my money back from the office, from the controller's office there. I put my money up for the license. I went back to get my money back because I just figured I wasn't going to get them since you didn't call me back right away. I said, well, what happened? They told me, man, damn that alderman. He ain't got nothing to do with this. He said, here's your license. So I got my license. And yes, I'm going to set stuff on the sidewalk. Ain't nothing they told me ain't nothing he could do about that. It's not his business. You know, so he operated as long as he wanted to over in the area. I don't want to say where it was right now. But, you know, see, the thing is, I understand what you're saying. I understand exactly what you're saying about the leadership positions.
Right.
It's a leadership position that you gave them. You gave them a position to lead some people that will work with them. Not me, not the community. You lead those people that we put to work with you. I gave you a secretary, I gave you a whatever position, you know, they have. So you lead them. That's all. That's as far as your leadership goes. When you go down to Springfield, when you go down to City Hall to talk about an issue that affects my ward, you better call me. When I say me, I'm talking about the whole community. Call them and have a meeting in the office and let them know what City Hall wants. How do you want me to vote for that? Yes or no? It's their mission to tell you how to vote. Not you go downtown and, yes, I vote for that, and come back and tell the people, I got us a good deal, I got so and so and so and so. Sometimes they don't tell them anything unless they...
But when you're dealing with a community that have became like the Walking Dead, you can write horror movies about our community. We become zombies. We become the Walking Dead. We become people who are not even engaged in community life. I mean, we have become people that wait for income to come in once a month, you know. So they don't even turn out to vote. They have no faith in the process. So, you know, there has to, you know, we standing in gasoline, all you need is one match to strike it, and the whole place will catch on fire.
Yes.
So what we have to do is figure out how to strike that match, how to inspire the least of us to become the greatest among us. And that's what we need to do. We don't need to look for those who are in position. We look for those who want to create a position. We have lost the desire to create for ourselves, to do for self. And that's what needs to be advocated. You know, we need to remove the barriers of our political interests and our religious interests and start looking at how we can collectively take control over the economic interests of our community.
Okay, Dennis, you
Thank
said we're
you.
out of time.
Yes, sir.
Give us a closing statement to the audience.
Pardon me?
Give a closing statement. What do you?
Well, I'm really honored to have the opportunity to be here. The African American community is a giant community that's asleep, and I hope that we will wake up and do for self and stop relying on others to do for us.
Beautifully said. Thank you very much for joining us, and we're going to have people like Dennis on the show from time to time to wake us up. We'll see you this time again tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, man.